Hi everyone, it's Vicky here with an art journal. This is an art journal that I have shared on the Simon Says Stamp blog a while back, but if you didn't have a chance to watch this video there, here it is on my own channel. I'm working on my Moleskine sketchbook, and for the background I am going to work with my distress paints. Now, distress paints are not very liquid, and although I would suggest to apply a thin layer of gesso first on your pages, you will see that I'm going to do it directly and it's going to work fine. So I am going to create a night sky, and you can see on screen right now the three colors that I'm going to combine for my night sky. I'm going to apply some paint with the dabber first, and then I'm going to go ahead and use a baby wipe. Now you will see that the first layer is going to look awful, as you can see now, but as we are going to build up the layers, everything is going to nicely blend, and you will see that we are going to have a great result. I'm going to repeat the same process on the other page, and again I am applying it with my baby wipe, and now I am going to do the same thing again on top, and this time I am building up more color, and you can see how nicely it blends. It's covering up all the mess from the back. And you can see that I am using the same baby wipe. I don't switch baby wipes when I switch colors, and this is helping the blending process. Also notice how I apply just a little bit of paint and then blend it with my baby wipe, and that's because it's always easier to apply a little bit of paint and start building the layers than start with too much paint and then you don't know what to do with it. And now to darken everything, I am going to do a wash of black, and that's black soot, but I am applying just a little bit, just to darken up my night sky. Notice how I keep this black layer transparent so you can still see the two colors underneath. So I'm happy with how my night sky is looking at the moment, and now I'm going to go ahead and add the stars. I'm making sure that everything is dry, and now I'm going to use a little bit of white gesso. This is thick gesso, so I'm going to thin it with some water, and with a very small brush I am going to do some splashes. And when you are making splashes such as these, remember that the thinner the brush, the smaller the splashes. And here is how my night sky is looking. I'm going to put it aside to dry. And this is what I'm going to be using to create my focal points. Now this is a set by Stampendous, and it comes with 3 different stamp surfaces as well as one stencil. So you can see the stencil now, and one of the stamps is a foam stamp that you can stamp from either side. One is solid and the other one has a nice texture. And you also get this clink stamp as well as this stencil, which I won't be using for today. So first I am going to work with this stamp, and you can see that if you stamp the solid side, it perfectly matches the clink stamp with all those details. So this is what I'm going to be doing today. First I'm going to wet the foam. Make sure that you wet the foam. This is going to help the paint to stay nicely on top of your foam. You will get a better result, and you will see that at the end it's going to be super easy to clean up. So now I'm making sure that it's nice and wet. I hope that you can see how wet it is. I am using distress paints, and I'm going to apply the color directly on the foam. So you can see how I apply it with the dabber, and I'm blending everything directly there. Now you have to move quite fast, otherwise the paint is going to dry on top of your foam, which is not what you want. Now the fact that the foam is already wet helps the paint to stay wet for a little bit more. And you can see the name of the colors that I have used on screen right now. As you can see, I have followed the rainbow order from one side to the other, and once I get my impression, I'm going to clean up the stamp and repeat the same process, but this time I'm starting applying the color from the other side. This way I'm going to have the same impression twice, but they will not look identical just because I have changed the color on the buildings. Since this is a foam stamp, you will not get a perfect impression, but this is not what we are going for. After all, we are working on an art journal. After finishing my stamping, I went on the sink to wash it off, and you can see how nice and clean it looks now, just like brand new. Now, I also love how this looks, especially since I get those areas with white, because this is going to look as a highlight on the final project. You will see later on what I mean. So now I'm going to apply some black archival ink on the cling stamp, and I'm going to try and stamp it directly on top of my background. Now, if it's a little bit off, it's not the end of the world. It's going to look great either way. I am repeating the same process for the rest of the buildings, and then I'm going to use my scissors and cut them out. To stick my buildings down, I'm going to use my matte medium as a glue. And as you can see, I get more buildings that I need to for my page. So I'm going to use my scissors, cut out the excess, and I'm going to put it behind the rest of the buildings. So I get more layers. And as I am going to stick everything down, I'm also going to make sure that I cover up the buildings with my gel medium. And this is because I want to use my big brush markers later on to do the shading. If you do not intend to do any shading at all, there is no need to cover up the buildings with your matte medium. And now it's time to do some shading, one of my favorite techniques, and I always do it with my big brush markers. These are markers by Faber-Castell, and they do have Indian ink inside. So when you are working on a non-porous surface, then you have a few seconds to move the ink around to create those smooth shadows. But when they dry, they will become permanent. As you can see, I am using a slightly darker marker than the building to create the shadows, and once I do that for all the buildings, I'm then going to go ahead and use an even darker marker like a dark brown. And really don't be afraid to add shadows to your elements. They really make them more dimensional and then bring them more to life. Also notice how I didn't cover up the whole building with my big brush markers, and I intentionally left all those imperfections from the stamping with the foam as they are, so they really look like highlighting on the buildings at the moment. So now I'm happy with how this looks, and I'm going to go ahead and use my white gel pen to add even more highlighting on the buildings. I'm also going to use this pen to light up some of the windows on the buildings. For my quote today, I'm going with a saying by one of my favorite artists, Vincent van Gogh. I have printed out some of it on my printer, so I'm just cutting out strips, and I'm also going to combine those strips with sticker letters for some of the words. To stick everything down, I'm using again my matte medium, and I'm also going to make sure that as I stick down the letters, I'm going to cover up the letters with matte medium as well, just to make sure that nothing is going to peel off at some point. Now, I am also going to use those stickers. These are by Making Memories, and I had them in my stash forever. I don't know if they are still available, but if they are, I'm going to make sure to link them down below. Here are some close-up photos of today's project. It is a quick and easy art journal to make, but so fun and colorful. I hope you had fun and got inspired. Thank you all for watching.